Okay, so just reaching out. The more you reach up, the more the spine straightens, allowing the weight of your body to go down into the sacrum. And then just release down. So I want to feel the dantian sacrum as like the center of my mass, the center of my physical beingness. And I want to feel the heart as being like the life center. So thymus means life in Greek, and the thymus is just the top of the sternum here. So I want to feel those two places separate from each other. So my gravitational center, my sacrum, is trying to just sink into the earth. And my life center, my thymus, is lifting upwards because it is naturally light. Okay, so let's try that movement again. So I'll just reach out, like you're gathering chi from the air, and just bringing it into the heart, but like the upper heart, the thymus, the ridge at the top of the sternum, and so behind the sternum really. And just pause, but feel the sacrum as well. The sacrum should feel as though it's underneath it, but quite different. That's just sort of heavy. And then the energy from the thymus wants to reach up. So here I'm just encouraging it. At the same time, that's allowing my sacrum to sink down. And then I just really open up the heart and the chest. So let's try one more of those. And now let's try a slightly different circuit, very similar. So let's start off from just meditation posture with the hands with the danqian. Hands and feet, if you're sitting on a cushion, are with the danqian. First, I just bring my hands up to the forehead, to the third eye. And then I bring the energy down. And then I just cup around my legs. So I'm just scooping around my legs, following the shape of my legs really, back into the danqian, and then back up to the forehead. So it's just a continuous loop. So if you're sitting on a chair, just imagine that your hands are getting underneath your feet as you go around the legs. It's like I'm creating a container of energy, like an envelope that goes around my legs and then comes up inside me, up the spine. And then just up and out. And now just a few twisting, but start off very gentle. So I'm working mindfully, I'm working with intention. I turn one way and I already see the return before it starts. And then just pausing. Gently allowing the hands to drop. Until they're just hanging at your side. And then we want to bring them up again, but see the place where they were, see them horizontal. And it's as though that image is sucking the hands towards it. And then see the hands when they're down. So if you were simply to let go with the arms, they'd just fall down. So just feel that image of the arms when they're relaxed and just hanging. And just slowly allow the hands to move towards that image. And then again, just see the image of the arms horizontal. And then we really want just the feeling that the arms are somehow getting there with the power of my mind. And it's not a mind that's telling the arms what to do. It's a mind that's imagining. I'm seeing that image of the arms up there horizontal. And I just allow the arms to take that place because that's where they want to be, because that's where my mind tells them that's where they are, that's where they belong. And now let's take them higher. So now just see the image of them above your head, straight, the arms straight above your head. So just see that image in your mind's eye. So something in your heart needs to lighten and lift, and that will take the hands up there. And then back down. See them horizontal. They're sucked to that place by the mind, and now see them hanging down. And then one more. So mind, but it's not the thinking mind, it's not the controlling mind, it's the heart mind. Something has to happen in my heart. This sort of lifting cheerfulness has to overcome me to produce enough lightness within my body for my arms to float upwards. And then I see them above my head. And then it's as though I let something go. There's like a deflation. The arms are just dropping into like a zero energy position where they've got no potential energy anymore. They're just hanging. And then let's just bring it back to here. So feel the hands with the dantian. If you're on a chair, then feel the feet flat on the ground. Feel the legs of the chair on the ground. So you want to sense that your mind can extend through the things that you're touching. So your mind can extend down the legs of the chair and into the earth. So you can root through the legs of the chair as much as you can root through your sitting bones when you're sitting on a cushion. Let's start with this one where we lift the heel. Feel the sacrum in the middle of this movement. That's hanging down. And then feel the lightness that's generating this movement. And that's the thymus. That's your heart lifting upwards. So my legs are bent, and that's my sacrum trying to reach down into the earth. But my heart is light and is trying to drift upwards. And now let's just bring it into riding horse. Again, sacrum. Sacrum hanging down, and this sense of the legs stemming out almost horizontally from my sacrum in order to grasp the ground. And then let's just try the same thing, but now from the wider stance. Just feel the legs shaking and trembling. So all we're trying to do really is just get to a place of real discomfort. Get to a place where we're shaking almost uncontrollably, and just finding a little bit of inner peace within that. And now we just want to move from side to side, gently. Again, with this sense that I'm prowling, I'm a tiger that's moving very slowly and very deliberately through the jungle, trying to make as little sound as possible and being really listening and alert to anything that's around it. So this sense that my arm comes out of my body slowly. So it's easiest to feel with the arms. So something is coming away from my spine. My shoulder blade is pulling away from my spine. That extends into my upper arm, then from my elbow into my lower arm, finally into my hand. So we can feel it in the arms, it's easier. And so I want this sense that something has grown out of my spine and down my arm into my hand. And even when the hand is curving in towards me, the arm is still growing into that curve. It's not simply bending into that curve. It's constantly growing. There's like a big arm emerging from my spine. What I want is to move from leg to leg because my legs are doing the same thing. So if you put your weight into this leg, then there's a sense of, in the same way that my shoulder sort of came up like this to pull my shoulder blade away from my spine, there's a sense that my hip has to come up like this. And we do that by bringing the heel off the ground. So if I bring the heel off the ground here, then it allows this movement in the knee and allows the hip to rise up and as though extending down the leg. So exactly the same really as when we were doing this, but now using it to move from leg to leg. So I just let the heel come up and sense that something is extending from my sacrum down my leg and into the foot. And that's what finally pulls me across. And then here, it's difficult because there isn't really very much flexibility in the sacroiliac at all, but we want to feel that it can almost come away. My hip can almost come away from my sacrum. So the first thing is to get it in the arm because it's easier to feel. And of course, the shoulder blade is a lot more fluid and flexible than the hip bones. But I don't want it only to be in the arm. I want to get it into the leg. It's just that willingness of the heel to lift up so that something can happen here in the hip whilst I'm still rooted in my right leg. So there has to be this sort of movement here in the hip. The important thing is that sort of bow shape in the legs, is that riding horse look of this just openness here. It was just round legs, really. We have to be able to feel the craziness, feel the madness that produces this very primitive action that's not coming from our cleverness or our thinking. It's like an impassioned relationship with the world. It's a way of moving that's just akin to breathing, really. It's that primitive and that fundamental. Let's just bring it back. Imagine you're sort of, you're walking in nature. You're off the beaten path, so that as you walk, you really have to pay attention to where your feet are going, because the ground is uneven and treacherous. It's threatening to unbalance you at the slightest distraction. So you're really having to pick your way carefully through the terrain. It's got that sense. And just imagine the sort of mind, you'd have a mind that's so awake and so alert and so careful and aware of the danger, yet not fearful. And now let's just go backwards and forwards, but with the same feeling. So here, what we want to feel here is the straightening of the leg, the straightening and then the bending. The leg straightens. It's its final act, really, of driving me into this leg. So my front leg straightens, and you can feel that as being your heel digging into the ground. So you can bring the toes up at that point. So I push myself back into the back foot, and I really straighten the front leg, bringing the heels up. And then I just put the foot down and lift the heel. And that's enough to pull me forwards. And then I straighten the back leg. And again, with a sense that I'm digging my heel in. You don't have to bring the toes up, but your little toe can certainly come up. And then you lift the heel, and that will start you moving towards it. So here, the toes come up to extend, drive me into the back foot as completely as possible. And then I put the foot down and lift the heel, and that starts pulling me forwards. And then I really straighten the back leg, digging my heel in as much as I can. And then I lift the heel, and that will bend the leg and pull me towards it. So this is how the legs are operating when we're moving backwards and forwards. Feel the emotion. In order to straighten my leg, what has to happen inside here? And then to bend the leg, it's a sense, it's like breathing. So would be straightening my leg, and then this would be bending my leg. So here I'm straightening my leg, and then I bend the leg. Then here I straighten the leg, and I bend the leg. So this is my arm straightening to reach the apple. And then this is my arm bending to pull the apple off the branch towards me. It's exactly the same with the leg. The leg straightens to reach out. And then as soon as the leg hits the ground, it bends in order to pull me towards it. And then let's try some of the other footboards. So let's just try this exercise. It's the same thing, but you can just be more gentle with it. But I still want the sense of moving into the leg because my heel has come up. So I pull the back heel up and that starts pulling me into the leg. And then I pull the front heel up and that starts me coming forwards. Let's just go back to this for a sec. I want to feel this whole area very loose. The stepping exercise. Feeling the heels. We're just doing what we've just been doing, but stepping with it. Toes down, pulling with the leg before the heel goes down, lifting the heel here to pull me back into it. Stepping, toes down first, pull the ground, heel goes down, this heel can then come up and move me backwards. Moving gingerly. And just changing the feet. It just becomes the figure of eight exercise. Everything does if you keep it going long enough. Now let's just bring it back to this. And now just feeling the figure of eight in the foot. So when I bring my heel off the ground, I'm going around my toes. And then as I bring the heel onto the ground, I'm going around the heel. So there's a complete figure of eight within my foot. I can have a figure of eight going around my hips like this, where each foot is contained within one loop of the figure of eight, but also I can get a complete figure of eight inside the foot. Here, as the heel comes up, it's the front of the foot that's on the ground, so that's where I'm looping around, and then as the heel goes down, I'm looping around my heel and then around the front of the foot. So as I do this exercise, I have a figure of eight inside each foot, exactly the same as I have in the two arms. As I'm going around the front of one foot, I'm going around the heel of the other one. So the front of the foot is connected to the heart, and the heel is connected to the root and the sacrum and the dantian. So the sacrum and the sternum are always operating together, but sort of expressing in the two sides of the body. So one side of my body here is with my dantian, my sacrum, my root, and the other side of my body is off the heel, directing up into the thymus, which is wanting to come out. So this activity in my hand is being directed by my heart, like a yearning. That's why I love the word sincerity, because it has that sense of yearning, whereas honesty doesn't really. So here, as I lift the heel, it allows something to come up and express out of my heart at the same time that my sacrum is reaching down here. Two very different minds, and I just want to be aware of them both. I don't want to lose one of the minds, because then it will all collapse. I'll have to use force to keep it going. So this is like a butterfly dancing out of my heart. And this is like the root that's extending down my leg and into the ground. Or you can think of the tailbone like a worm or maggot that's trying to extend down the leg and into the heel, into the ground. So one is looking for the darkness, and one is always reaching for the light. Let's bring it back to riding horse. Feel the sacrum, the golden sacrum, or the leaden sacrum, the heavy sacrum. It's like where all of your gravity, your density, your mass collects. Now, if I can soften the legs sufficient to allow that to drop, then my spine will come up a little bit more upright, and that will allow something to lift up from the sternum. This is how you know you've got your posture right. There's a sense of real hanging down here, but also a sense of release upwards. And then let's bring it up. This exercise in the background all the time. This is like the life in me. The life in me wants to move. Beingness of me, you know, I am, I exist, just wants to be completely still. But the livingness of me, it's like an itch. And we just want to just be very much aware of both of them. One tends to be centered here. My being is centered here. My aliveness is centered here.